Welcome back to Rich Girlville Talk, the place where we talk about money in a way that actually makes sense, without guilt or confusion. Today we're going to be talking about budgeting, what it really is, why it matters, how to actually do it, and 3 popular methods you can try. The first one, pay yourself, next 50-30-20, and then finally zero-based budgeting. I'll break down exactly how each works, share tips on how to implement them in your life, and even talk about mixing and matching methods to create a system that fits your unique lifestyle. If you've ever felt like your money disappears the second it hits your account, or that you're just winging it financially, this episode's for you. Let's start with the basics. Budgeting isn't about living on ramen, cutting out coffee, or feeling guilty every time you spend $1. Budgeting is about direction and control. It's about deciding beforehand where your money will go instead of wondering where it all went at the end of the month. Think about it this way. Your money is like water and your goals are your garden. Without a budget, money spills everywhere. Random purchases, subscriptions you forgot about, and impulse buys. With a budget, money flows intentionally, nurturing the things that matter most to you. Otherwise, you'll be watering weeds. The benefits of budgeting go beyond finances. Research shows that people who budget experience less stress, better mental health, and more confidence in their decision-making. Financial stress is one of the biggest contributors to anxiety and depression, and creating a plan for your money can make it a real difference. Even simple awareness of your income versus your expenses is a huge first step. Once you know where your money is going, you can start making it work for you. Before you even choose a budgeting method, there's one step that makes everything easier. And the step most people skip, tracking your expenses. Tracking expenses just means knowing exactly where your money is going, not guessing, not estimating, actually seeing the numbers, because you can't manage what you can't see. I remember the first time I tracked my spending. It was a little over a year ago, and I was genuinely shocked. Most of my expenses weren't big purchases at all. There were subscriptions I didn't even remember signing up for, let alone using. Once I canceled those, my expenses dropped so much that my income finally started exceeding what I was spending. And that's the power of tracking. It's not about restriction, it's about awareness. A lot of people think that they're bad at budgeting, but really they just don't realize how much money is leaking out through small recurring expenses like food runs, impulse buys, and forgotten subscriptions. Tracking doesn't have to be complicated. You can write it down in a notebook, use a notes app on your phone, track spending on spreadsheets, or use apps like Mint, Rocket Money, or YNAB. Even tracking for 1 week or 1 month can completely change how you see your money. Awareness alone can reduce impulse spending, and that's powerful. One of the simplest and most powerful methods is pay yourself first. Here's how it works. As soon as you get paid, you automatically set aside a portion of your income for your future, whether that's savings, investments, or debt repayment, before spending a dime on anything else. Why this works? You're prioritizing your financial goals automatically. You remove the temptation to spend everything and build your wealth without thinking about it. Even small amounts like $20 or $50 per paycheck compound over time and create financial security. Implementation is simple. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to a savings account, retirement account, or investment account. Decide on a percentage that works best for you. Some people start with 10% of their income, others with a fixed dollar amount. Treat it like a non-negotiable bill. The money for your future comes off the top, and the rest is for living your life. This method works especially well for beginners or for people who are struggling to save consistently, because it takes willpower out of the equation. Your future self will thank you. Next, let's talk about the 50-30-20 rule. One of my favorite budgeting methods because it gives you structure while still leaving room to enjoy your money. Here's the breakdown. 50% of your income goes to needs, things like rent, groceries, utilities, and insurance. 30% goes to wants, shopping, eating out, hobbies, travel, and then 20% goes towards savings or paying off debt, building an emergency fund, investing, or knocking out high-interest loans. What I really love about this method is that it gives you structure without taking out the fun out of spending. You're not guessing where your money should go, it's already mapped out for you. When I actually sat down and looked at my own budget, I realized something interesting. I wasn't overspending on wants, I was overspending on needs. Rent and groceries were consistently costing me more than I could realistically afford. Once I saw that, I knew something had to change. I ended up moving to a cheaper place and cutting back on unnecessary food purchases, like constantly buying junk food. That one adjustment made a huge difference, and that's the power of the 50-30-20 rule. It helps you spot the problem areas without judgment. To implement this method, start by calculating your monthly income. List out your expenses and categorize them as needs, wants, or savings. Then compare your real spending to the 50-30-20 framework. If things don't line up, don't panic. Make small, realistic adjustments over time. This method works especially well if you want a simple, balanced approach that holds you accountable while still letting you enjoy your money. Now let's go deeper into zero-based budgeting. This is a hands-on method that gives you complete control over every dollar. The idea is that every dollar of your income gets a job, so that at the end of the month, your income minus your expenses equals zero. No money is left unplanned. Why it works? It forces intentionality. You track every expense, prioritize your financial goals, and prevent money from slipping away without notice. It's also perfect for people with irregular incomes because you plan ahead for every scenario. To implement, list your total monthly income. Assign every dollar to a category: needs, wants, savings, debt repayment, etc. until the total reaches zero. Track your spending throughout the month to ensure it aligns with the plan. Apps like YNAB, EveryDollar, or even a simple spreadsheet can make this method manageable. Zero-based budgeting is ideal if you love precision, accountability, and full control over your money. Here's something most people don't tell you about budgeting. You don't have to stick to just one method. In fact, most people shouldn't. When I was first creating my budget, the 50-30-20 rule was a great starting point for organizing my spending. It helped me clearly see where my money was going and gave me a solid structure. But over time, I realized that structure alone wasn't enough. I also needed help actually reaching my savings goals. That's where Pay Yourself First came in. Automating my savings made a huge difference because I didn't have to think about it. The money was already set aside before I had the chance to spend it. It took some trial and error to find the right balance between those two methods. But once I did, budgeting became so much more easier. Now I use a mix of both. I pay myself first to make sure my savings goals are always covered. And I use the 50-30-20 rule to guide how I spend the rest of my money. And honestly, I'm no longer stressed about my expenses because I know everything has a place. That's the real goal of budgeting. Not perfection, but peace of mind. Your system should make your life easier, not harder. Experiment, adjust, and build a budget that works for you, not against you. Before we wrap up, here are some common mistakes and tips to avoid them. First, being too rigid. If you never allow yourself fun money, you'll burn out fast. Budgeting is about balance. Second, not tracking your spending. Even if you use a method, check it weekly to see where your money is really going. Third, ignoring irregular expenses. Things like annual subscriptions, gifts, or car maintenance need to be accounted for. 4, comparing yourself to others. Your budget should reflect your goals, not someone else's lifestyle. 5, start small. Automate what you can and adjust your system as you learn. Even imperfect budgeting is better than no plan at all. And then finally, not tracking spending. Spending without tracking is like trying to drive somewhere without checking the map. Budgeting isn't about punishment, it's freedom. Freedom to control your money, reduce stress, and build the life you actually want. Remember, choose a method that works for you. Experiment, mix and match, and adjust as you go. Your future self will thank you. If this episode helped, follow the podcast for more real, no-fluff money conversations. Thank you so much for listening, and that's Rich Girl Real Talk.